Hi everybody, Gisele Grenier here from artplace.ca. In today's workshop, I'm going to be creating a cover, I'm going to construct a cover for my Doug 2014 journal. And this is the cover, it's the cover for the Strathmore Visual Journal that I used for the project. And this is something I did quite a while ago. It was just with papers and stuff like that, but now I want to work on this side. This is going to be the inside. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some gesso on this. Now I've already kind of scuffed this up a little bit, and everything that I'm going to be using in this video will be listed at the end of the video, so you don't need to take any notes. Now I will warn you, this is going to be a detailed video because I want to more address the beginners that are watching. If you're more intermediate or advanced, I mean, you can fast forward through this. I really want to address the beginners, just to get, so you can pick up some tips and techniques of what I'm doing and apply it to your own art. So I'm going to be using the Deco Art Media Gesso, and it's nice and thick, so I can get some texture out of this, but the purpose of this is just to prep the inside cover because it is quite slick. If I wanted to save some time, I could use the multi-surface satins, which doesn't really require any prep. That stuff sticks to anything. But I'm playing with Deco Art's new fluid acrylic line, and oh my god, I absolutely love it. I'm a user for my fine art, and I was using the Traditions for a lot of the journaling and funky stuff. That's a much more, it's a thicker, it's equivalent to like a tube acrylic, and I was constantly thinning them down just to get, be able to move them around a little bit more because they are professional paint. So now when they've come out with their fluid acrylics, which is a little bit thinner, it saves me an awful lot of time. And the paints are labeled on the back as well, the exact same as a Tradition. So if anybody's watching my videos where I use Traditions and you're going to go to something like the fluid acrylics, you don't need a fancy conversion chart because the pigments are similar. Okay, so I still have got all these lines in here. I like the texture that I can get with gesso. And when doing this with gesso, this is just for a journal, so I'm not worried about the curing time. If you were doing this for a piece of art, like an actual piece of art that you're going to be giving to somebody or putting on the wall that you want to last a long time, anytime you gesso something, unsealed wood or canvas, something like that, you want to let the gesso cure for about 24 hours. So think of it as your base, and anything needs a good solid foundation before you can build upon it. This is just for a journal cover. I'm not too worried about it because, you know what? Who knows? I'll probably give this to maybe my grandkids and they can cut it up and create something else out of it. Paper dolls. My granddaughter loves to create paper dolls. So, just adding a little bit more where I just want to have a little bit more gesso. Okay, so that's done. I just used a bristle brush to put it on, nothing fancy. So I'm gonna let that sit and dry, and then when we come back, I'm not sure if I'm gonna add another layer. We're gonna be putting a lot of texture on here, so I may come back and when it's dry, add another layer till it's almost opaque, and then because we're gonna be building up a lot with modeling paste and some crackle medium. I may even get out my Fiero products and just see what I can do with that. A lot of stenciling and a lot of texture. Okay, so back in a bit. Now the cover has dried and it's got a little bit of a warp to it. I'm not going to worry, it's because of all the collage that I did here. So now the one thing that we can do is when we start building up our page, you don't have to add color right away. We can add texture and then we can paint it after. So what I want to try to do is use some modeling paste with a stencil, and I'm basically just going to create a border. Now one thing when you're using stencils, especially when you're creating texture, is you want to have a stencil that's made of a heavier plastic. The thicker the plastic, the more modeling paste you're going to be able to get into it. So if you made a stencil out of, let's say, I don't know, like printer paper or something like that, you may not get quite enough texture. So if you want to make your own stencil, you maybe use cardboard and do some cutouts with the cardboard. That'll give you a good base. And I'm going to, nice thing about, and this is the Aztec mixed media stencil, and it's a perfect size. So I'm thinking that's just a border. And I was thinking about doing it this way. Problem with that, if I'm going to be doing a lot of work flipping back and forth on the stencil, back and forth, you've got these little itty bitty bits on the end, which will be more delicate because they're at such a point. I don't want to start wearing down the point. I mean, we're going to varnish it and all that stuff, but still, it might start to wear out. So I'm going to do this one. It's all about experimenting. Right there. I'm using modeling paste, and it's a nice, think of like plaster of Paris, but for artists. Okay, it's a nice texture, and I'm just going to stir it up a little bit, just at the top part. If you leave the jar open for quite a bit, of course the water's going to evaporate. So you want to give it a bit of a mix and cap it right away. And with the palette knife, now I had, which is now missing, this is a painting knife, and then you've got the palette knives that are not flat like this, but they kind of go down like this. And that's actually a better one. Oh, there it is. That's a better one to use. This one, because then you can, instead of holding the knife like this and pushing it, with this, you just have to lay it flat because it's already bent. Hopefully that made sense. So I'm just going to grab a little bit. I'm going to start here, and it's like frosting a cake. Now you don't have to worry about being cheap with this, because we're going to scrape a lot of it off and just put it right back in the container. And hold your stencil down. I keep forgetting to do that. You want to hold the stencil down. Now see this mark here? Nice texture. I could leave that in, but I want to flatten this out. So I may want to put some more stuff on top of here later on. And take your time when doing this. Sometimes I go a little bit fast. I don't mean to. Okay. This will take a little bit of time to dry. This journal cover is actually a good project to do in an afternoon if you're going to do the whole thing at once. And when it comes to big projects like this, with this one especially, the Doug 2014 project took a year to complete, and I don't want to whip through the cover. So I thought I'll try to put in some other techniques in here, stuff that I may have missed. I'm just going to scrape off some of the pieces. Whoops, went too far. That's okay. Instead of dipping back in the container. Okay. And just go back over again. Like I said, it's just like frosting a cake. I can see myself, because I'm looking at a bit of an angle where it's a little bit lighter, where there's not as much of the medium. So I can tell where I need to add it. You won't be able to see because you're looking straight down. Now, as flat as possible is the best way to do it. Now, the cover is bent, so it's not going to be flat. And I'm liking the little things I have going on here. There we are. I'm going to scrape some of that off now. I'm just going to flatten it out just a little bit. You can be as rough as you want. You can have it all rough and there we go. Let's see a little bit more in there. If your cover's flat, you won't have any problems. Now, when you're taking the stencil off, don't slide it. You want to lift it up because you've got all that modeling paste in there. And there we go. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm going to let this dry, and right now I'm going to go and put this in water and clean it off because it is pretty permanent. Right, this hasn't completely dried yet, so I'm going to continue working on this side. Now I've got the gears and cogs stencil, and I want to mask out an area because I'm still going to use the modeling paste. Now this can be a little bit tricky. If this was perfectly dry, I could put the stencil on this side. Okay, but because that's not dry, oh, and I just scraped that up. Because that's not dry, I can't. So I'm going to line this up. And you can use any stencil for this. You do not have to use these stencils. You can use anything you want. And I'm going to mask out where the book edges are. And this will also hold down stencil. Tape it to the table. Like so. And hopefully my head wasn't in the way. And I'm going to tape it there. And I don't want any of these. So with these, it's just easier to mask them out. And I'm sure there's other artists do it a different way. This is just what works for me. I could use masking film. Masking tape is just as easy. Now I'm going to tape this one down here as well. Because the stencil doesn't quite go to the edge here, we'll have to move it down. So this is a great way to take small stencils and make them a little bit larger. And I store these stencils in their original packaging, but the smaller stencils I put them in book protectors. But I accidentally punched a hole in this one that goes in the binder, so I'm just gonna fill that one up so it doesn't look like the cog has a hole in it. Okay, that should do. I think I want to block this one out too because it's not enough of the gear to worry. And that's my friend. We're going to see the Michelangelo and Alice Colville exhibit. I'm so excited. There we go. Okay. I'm going to take the modeling paste and put this on very carefully. And this is a bit of a more delicate stencil because of all the delicate pieces. So I'm going to go slow with this as well. And if you don't have modeling paste, do it with gesso. Anything to add texture. And if your gesso, depending on whatever brand you use, if it's too thin, pour it into another container, some into another container, and leave it uncovered for a couple of hours, stirring very, very frequently just to let some of the water evaporate. Sounds like a lot of work, which is why I highly recommend getting good gesso right from the beginning. There's recipes on how you can make your own. And that's fine. I don't have time for that. There we go. I'm also going to fix that little thing there. Okay. And when you're stenciling and with texture medium like this, keep an eye on, I'm going like this, and it's pretty good because it's flat, but if you had little pieces that were sticking up, you might actually pull the stencil piece out, like something like this here. You might actually pull that up. So just be careful on the pressure and try to use the palette knife as flat as possible. I find this so relaxing. Now, I'm not a baker, so I have no idea how to frost a cake. But I do know that if my cake looked like this, I'd be so happy. Because I like the broken plaster look. Tuscan broken pots and the clay that's all textured. That I love that. Okay. Let's put that aside. I'm going to wipe this off right away. This stuff here is permanent, so... Now this is going to take a little bit of finagling. I'm going to leave the tape on, so I'm going to lift it up though. Oh, perfect. So now to fill in the bottom, I'm going to turn the stencil another way and find out what would work. So I'm looking at probably a whole stencil, but I got to make sure it doesn't overlap. So I got a little one here. And what else have I got? Trying to find something that I won't overlap too much. Let me just set this. You want to let this air dry. Do not heat set it. You need to let this air dry for it to be cured and really strong. So I'm going to use this one here. And how about this one? That's going to have a lot of... Okay, we'll try. Ideally, you let this dry and then you put it on. You've got more time than I do, so... Let's see what we can do. It's such a small area. There we go. Put that aside, and whoopsie, I just got all over my masking tape. The stencils, there's a brush and stencil cleaner, and that's for like when I do my, like I'm only doing one stencil. If I'm doing a lot of stencils within a project in time, a bit of a time crunch, I've got a big bin full of water with 1000+ stain remover, and I just throw the stencils in there until I'm ready to clean them. Okay, let me just quickly... Gesso. Let me just quickly fix that up. Here we go. Oh, might as well just put a little bit more while we're here. It's not going to hurt any. And at this point now you can think of what you want to put in the middle. And I was thinking, it's all about texture. So I've got a whole whack load of stencils to choose from. So I'm thinking of something with some words. And I do have a stencil. Let me get it for you. It's a home decor stencil. And it's got Leonardo da Vinci, and it's got a whole bunch of words on here. France, Leonardo. You know what? I'm French, so I should be able to read this. You know what? Maybe I'll ask my mom to translate it. But either way, I'm thinking about putting something, maybe some text in here. I'm not sure yet. I let the design talk to me, and to see, I know it kind of sounds kind of funny, but that's the way I go through my thought process. So now I'm going to let this sit. This is going to take a couple of hours, and I let this sit 100% because there's no point in doing all this work, you know, and saying, okay, it's dry enough, and then going and stuff lifts off, especially with the modeling paste. You want to let it cure, because if you don't let it cure, it'll crack. All right, so I'm going to go wash my stencil. I may just go do some art journaling for a bit, and then I'll come back. So I basically let this dry overnight. I ended up doing something else, and it came back down to the studio. So I've got my stencils that I'm looking at putting on here. These are the home decor stencils from Deco Art, and I think I want to put that Da Vinci text here. It's not going to mean anything. I just want some text in there. And I've got their Timeless Treasure, and I'll put something with a clock, and then I've got their key, and I'm liking that. Maybe the lock there, key there, and then I've got some button letters, and I may just put Doug 2014 here. I don't want it to be too large, so I guess I with this. The only thing that's going to be done with the Fierro, texture Fierro, is going to be the key and probably the buttons. So we'll do this one with the modeling paste. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Trying to think. Yeah. I'm going to mask out the area first. I don't want any text on here, so this is why you have to make sure this is dry. I'm doing this standing up, so hopefully I'm not getting in anybody's way. Change my mind on that. I don't want it on this one. I don't mind if it goes slightly inside here. You can create a mask out of acetate if you want. I'm not gonna worry about this. There we go. Just something like that. Nothing fancy. You know what? I'm going to change my mind. Not so much of changing products. I'm going to use the same modeling paste, but in black, just so you can see. It's hard to see with in there. And the other thing is, if you don't have a metal palette knife, where is it? You can use a piece of plastic. And I'm going to use, these are the texture tools. Just finding one that's got a... Go. You can even use, yeah, I'm going to use a smaller one. These are the texture tools, and mudding and taping drywall. This is what I'm thinking of. Mudding and taping drywall. All right, so and then you just push and push and push. This is less damaging to your stencil. Because it's plastic. Make sure that stays down there. A little bit on. You can also scrape off a lot more. If you don't have something like this, an old a credit card or hotel key card will work. Our driver's licenses are plastic like credit cards. So if you want your expires, just make a mark on it so it can't, you know, if somebody takes it, then it can't be used. But if you use it in your studio, it also works well for this. And I think, did I go over the tape? Nope. Put the rest back in the container. There we are. You'll put this in water. There. Now you can see it. I should have did the same thing here. We're going to be ending up adjusting it anyways, but that's what it looks like. Okay. This can go in. Should I leave this on? Because there's still some more stuff I want to do on here. I'm going to let this set up for a little bit. Now I have another one that I'm doing, which is the back cover. So I'll do that one as well. But this one here, I think I'm going to do the whole thing just to see what would happen. It's all about experimenting. Oh, so okay, if you, let's see. You can also use, if you have some type of texture tools like this, you can use those too. But yeah, an old credit card, driver's license, key card, that type of thing does the job. It's also faster. We'll do it right there, that way I can hold on to it. See, this big one, texture tool, is much more flexible. It's easier to push the modeling paste into the crevices, but it's a bit more difficult to scrape up. Did you hear Mia barking? God forbid I'm by myself at home. It is a little bit harder to scrape up because it's bigger, but it does work a lot faster pushing it down. So I may just get the other one. Now, if you don't you don't need to have the black modeling paste. This is just to show you what it looks like. And the method I'm using for this particular cover, I want to see what it looks like if by stenciling over something that's already been stenciled with the modeling paste. Let's clean that up. Whoops. It's much easier to see areas that you've missed with this as well. Okay, I'm going to get the other one. You guys probably can't hear her. She's growling upstairs. There's somebody out there that doesn't belong. And just gently scrape it up. And I just put it back. Don't let this dry too long here because it'll be very hard to clean up. But I let all my stencils that I work with, when I work with product like this, I soak it in a tub, in a container with 1000+ stain remover, and then I get a brush, like an old brush like this, and just gently brush over it. Everything comes off. And as everything starts to settle, I can see some white spots. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so lift carefully. Oh, that's awesome. We'll only really be able to tell if the gears and cogs and then the Aztec stencil shows up once we start painting everything. Now you can tell this piece here, you can see how smudgy it is. If I look at the stencil, it's not really smudgy. The stencil was lifting up. I was pushing it down, but then when I would move my hand, it was going up a bit, and I was putting more modeling paste, it was getting underneath the stencil. See? So that's why that's happening. All right, I'm going to go put this into that tub now, and we're going to let this dry up. We need to let this dry thoroughly before we stencil on the clock faces. I thought I would try something off camera while I was waiting for this piece to dry, because this piece is going to be a garbage piece. You know why? It's backwards. Actually, it's upside down. This is the cover. Goes this way. This is the back cover. It's supposed to go this way. Now the text is upside down. Unless I have this text on the back side, and then this becomes the back cover. But anyways, this is backwards. So I'm going to try some stuff. So I sprayed this with the shimmer mister, which is white, and it looks kind of cool. I'm going to dry this. So this piece will be all about experimenting. And because what I was thinking is, you know, do I want to basically, I've got some die cuts. Do I want to put die cuts on here? Or do I want to stencil some more modeling paste? Because now, as you stencil modeling paste over modeling paste through the stencils, there's going to be a thickness variable. So I wasn't quite sure the best way to do it. Because this is stenciled over modeling paste, and it looks alright. So I may just stick with that. I want to see what it would look like with the shimmer mist. I love the look of that. This is just an alternative to using gesso. And if I just spray a little bit more. Can you drip that? I have to spray that with a little bit of water. Let's drip that down. There we go, dripping. I can drip it this way because this is upside down, remember? And I can leave it like that. Oh, just different little things. So this actually, yeah, this is the back side. So when you flip the book around, it's going to be like that. So I'm going to have to, or does it really matter? I don't know. Does it matter? I don't think so. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Let me lift this up a bit. I don't know if you can see this, but look at that nice crackling there. It's because the modeling paste isn't quite dry yet. Isn't that cool? You can see the gears there. You can see the Aztec symbol there. That's neat. Okay, well, I'm going to let that dry, so let me move that to the side here. Look at this one. This, I could let this dry for about another hour or so, but it's manageable. And now it's time for the clock. And I'm wondering which one I should put on there. Which one should I put on? DOUG 201. I'm missing. I was hoping to put DOUG 2014. I'm going to DOUG space 14. That's what I'll do. Okay, so I'm going to use that for the lettering. So I can't put a clock on that side, but I could probably put a clock here. Like I said, we're going to end up painting all this with white gesso, and then we're going to be putting some transparent layers of paint on there. So I'm going to do this though with white, because this text can stand out. That's fine. And let's get the little one. Just cleaning it off. I've got it all over the place. If my husband actually came home right now, he'd yell at me because I'm wearing my work clothes and I'm not wearing my painting apron. Shh. Okay. So we'll put that one there, and then I want to put a piece of tape to mask off the edge. You could omit this step, obviously, if you're not working on something like that. I really, really like this clock here. Okay, the modeling paste went underneath because this stencil, I actually damaged it. I have another one on order. I want that really thick. So make sure you put a good amount there. And the more pressure you use to scrape it off, the thicker everything's going to be. And also the longer it'll take to dry. I want it to be nice and thick, like really thick. I'm taking my time with this. That's how I damaged the stencil. I was rushing. The last project I did with it, which is actually one of the Doug 2014 projects. That's how I damaged the stencil. Beautiful. Oh, gorgeous. Okay. I'm going to set that aside for a second. Come on, Mike. And let's grab a piece of palette paper. At this point now with the project, I do not want to get any stencil, any of this stuff anywhere else on the design. See, Tom, messy, eh? Very slowly. Scrape everything off. You can also use this on cardstock, okay, and then cut it out with scissors. I have some die cuts here. A friend of mine made these for me just out of cereal box stuff, and they're really, really cool. I thought these are nice, but I like the actual clock. There's no reason why you can't do this on cardboard and just cut it out with scissors. You don't even have to cut out all the notches, just cut a straight circle around. There's no reason why you can't do that. So that's another way to use up your stencils. To use your stencils, not use them up. Okay, and the palette paper. Isn't that kind of cool? So I'll put that aside here. And I'm going to get a kitchen wipe just to carefully, because I'm going to be using this stencil again, and I don't want to run to go and clean it. I will do a final cleaning, but just kind of carefully wiping up the excess. This poor stencil. Poor stencil. There we go. I love the numbers. So now I'm going to have to do a little bit of placement here to make sure that okay, well the buttons, we know that the buttons I'm going to do on there. So, and I do want to put a key right here. So I could put, I don't want to put another clock face here, but I could put a clock face here and here. And even with some numbers. So I could do oh, that might be nice. Those two right there. Those two right there. If I get number 2, so I'm going to put tape on 4, 5. I'm just masking it out. I'll be able to get this little piece here. That's fine. I could actually do this one too, because from here, the 11 to 7, this here, is missing. is missing off this side. You can't even see what I'm talking about. Is missing on this side, so I could do that. I'm going to heat set just this part here. It won't dry, but just enough where I can actually put the stencil on top where it's not going to grab anything. Then we'll let all that dry, then we'll just put a layer of gesso on this. I'm going to use the gesso much thinner here because I do want some of this text to show through. Now if you don't have the modeling paste, you can use, let's say, dimensional effects, the texture Fiero, the texture crackle, or the texture, the terracotta, texture terracotta, texture Fiero, the texture crackle. The texture crackle not so much with the small pieces. Dimensional effects, yeah, the modeling paste. You can use a little bit of gesso. Now I don't know if you saw that. This one here was bubbling up because I wasn't paying attention, and it started bubbling up and it got hot. So this is very hot now. Oh, I got some modeling paste in the back of the book. I was too busy talking. Okay. And I'm going to get a sheet of wax paper. Always try to have wax paper handy. Alrighty. So how do I want to? 11. I can even cancel out part of that clock. It's all about placement. Take your time when doing this. So I'm going to tape it down here. That'll hold it. Little piece here in the corner, that'll hold it. And we could, oh, you know what, we might as well get everything there. Let's do everything. No, we don't want to do everything, we want the key there. Sorry, I'm just talking my way through this. Which key do I want to use? This one here, I think. So if I'm going to use this key here, it's going to be over the majority of the stencil. So I think I'm going to omit doing this one. There we go. That should hold. That should hold. You could just keep building and building like this. Now, I've got now two layers. I've got the Aztec, and I've got the cogs on this side, and then I've got a clock, and then I'm doing another. So that's four layers. So this one here, I may have to make it a little bit thicker because it's not only do you need, well, you need to get the modeling paste where. So this, pretend that this is what it's like. So you have this now, the stencil here. You have to put enough modeling paste to get inside here. Oops, see, I lifted up that. I should have been paying attention. I should have been paying attention. I'll have to clean the edge. I should have put some tape there. There we go. I like that. That's good. Let's push that down a little bit more. So now you know why I gave you fair warning in the beginning of this was going to be a long video. I want to show everything. It will be at a point where you're going to, oh yeah, I know what she's doing, so you can fast forward it. Okay, that'll have some different thicknesses. Ooh, not quite, a little bit came up. Oh, that's nice and thick. Oh, that's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. Now, while I'm here, yeah, I'll be able to do that. I'm going to put some numbers, just a little bit. My favorite number is 3. Okay. Yeah, I need to wait for this to dry. Because what I'm doing right now, I'm just asking for trouble. There we go. Okay. Finito on that. I'm going to let that dry. And on this one here, I think I'm going to leave that the way it is. Because it has to be upside down, so I won't do much with that. Because if it is a back cover, depending if your book is flat down, this will be on the table. So I don't want to do too much on that. I'm going to leave that, but I may do some die cuts on the back. Okay, so we'll let this dry for a little bit longer. We'll put in, we're going to then gesso it. The key I'm going to put with the texture-free arrow, and then we'll put the buttons, and then we'll start doing some painting. Back in a bit. Alright, so I've let this dry. Now while this was drying, Joe's in the workshop building me a shelf and stuff like that. I thought I would finish the other piece off camera. And so far I've gotten to something like this. Now this took a lot of layers. I used all the media misters and did a lot of wiping and stuff like that. And the key I did one way, but this part here I'm going to do another way. Now the reason why I did this a little bit darker was because I did the stenciling of the text upside down. Da Vinci wrote in his journal backwards, so the stencil's about Da Vinci, so it doesn't really matter. But this one here, I took the modeling paste and I added some metallic gold to it and did this. Okay, and the metallic gold is this one here. And then I stenciled that using the key. This one here, though, I'm going to stencil with white. And no, sorry, I'm going to stencil it with the modeling paste that's black. Then I'm going to dry brush the gold so you can see the different effects. So what I did, I've got all these. I'll just bring all these out here because I made up a custom color. So these are the opaque misters. Well, I call them opaque. Sorry, yeah, opaque. They're not shiny. They're matte finish. So we've got the purple, red, and orange and carbon black flat finish misters. Then we've got the shimmer misters of turquoise, violet, yellow, and white. I made up my own mix, and you can tell my table's all a mess. I took primary yellow, orange, purple, and then the shimmer yellow. So I started off with shimmer yellow, and then I added a little bit of orange to make it more of a yellow orange. And then I added a little bit of purple because purple's opposite on the color wheel, so it would neutralize it. And then I wanted to, and it wasn't quite bright enough, so I added just a bit of the primary yellow. And I came up with this nice color here, and I'll mist it on a scrap paper so you can see. Okay, it's a little bit darker than probably raw sienna. It's kind of goldy looking. All right. So I made up that mix. Now with this one here, I was experimenting with the colors because I wanted the journal covers to be a hint of the yellowy green with a bit of shine, and then I'm going to add some interference green to have that hologram look, and then I'm going to antique the edges black. But I didn't want this to be my traditional transparent red iron oxide vintage color. I wanted to do something a little bit different. So it's playing a lot with the layers. So although I have all these misters out to create this page, I may or may not use them all to create this one. So as I was spraying, I also didn't get this out of the way. There's still some mists here. For this, you're going to need a ton of paper towels. A ton of paper towels and a whole bunch of baby wipes. Now if you don't have the misters, you can use the fluid acrylics and just use a brush to put them on. And then you can get little spare bottles as well to create your custom mixes. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put in my light color. So I'm going to go right with primary yellow. And I'm going to put that everywhere. Yeah, everywhere on top of the bottles. That's smart. And this is just to get a base going. That's why I gessoed it first. And then I can take a baby wipe. And I can take a baby wipe and just gently rub over where the gears and cogs are. You can distress anything you want. Like so. Okay. And then I'm going to add some of my custom color here. I'm not going to let this dry yet. I'm working more of the corners. Okay. And get that right in there. Now if I were to look at this, I'm thinking close to transparent yellow iron oxide. Now they don't have, Deco Art doesn't have an actual spray for green, but you can make that with the turquoise and yellow, or the yellow mister, the shimmering yellow or the regular yellow. I'm hoping they come out with more. Alright, and now if I want to put a little bit more orange up there. And a bit of red. And this is all about experimenting. There isn't any set formula for this. All I'm doing is playing to see what I can do with color. Well, that's kind of pretty. Okay. So now if I want to deepen things a little bit, this is where it gets a little bit, get creative. Let me just quickly dry this. This doesn't take long to dry at all. What will take a little bit longer to dry, if you didn't put enough gesso down where the modeling paste was, if that's still exposed, because that will just suck up all the paint. And when you put the turquoise on there, it is going to be a little bit more green. So I'm going to put that everywhere though. So the turquoise, then I'm going to go with the shimmer yellow. As soon as the shimmer goes on top, look how green it is. And then another paper towel. I'm not ready, I don't want to leave it like this, I'm not ready yet, so I'm just going to, and by doing this, because the base is already dry, by doing this in 2 layers, it creates a beautiful green. And let me just put some, I have to turn this because I'm spraying this way and it's not getting inside the layer there. I like that. Now I'm going to take my baby wipe, and I'm not going to worry about it getting a clean one, And I'm just going to kind of blot over the clock faces where the things stand out just a little bit. This will help create a different color when we add more paint. Don't press too hard. I want to try just to get the top part. See here, I went inside. And these I'm not going to worry about. Okay, I'm going to dry this. And you can do this, you know, any way you want. You don't have to use these colors. I just want to do something other than the regular vintage browns. Okay, so let's get a little bit of violet in there. Kind of leaving the center by itself. Oh, I love that violet. That's pretty. Now violet, we all know it's like red and blue. This one's a bit more red. And keeping in mind that as soon as it hits the green, it gets neutralized because green is opposite the color wheel. Opposite on the color wheel to red. But it's more on the, probably yellow is closer to being opposite. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my god, I love that. Wow. Huge difference between the finishes. You know what? I'm really liking that. I really, really like that. I really like that. Of course, when you say you really, really like something, typically you leave it. Not me. So now I sprayed, and I'm just gently wiping. I'm going to make that even a little bit deeper. And I'm going to dry that. As soon as you dry it, it's set. I don't want to make it exactly the same as the other one, because you saw how I was getting close to the green anyways. So I'm going to take a little bit of black now. I think I should just go with purple, but a little bit of black and paper towel. Oh yeah, wow. And I'm not typically a user of pure black anything. Oh, I love that. Oh, wow. And then a fresh baby wipe. And I'm just going to hit maybe a little bit. Just maybe a set a little too much. There we go. Just going to pull a little bit of color where I want to do a bit of a dry brush of the metallic paint. Not too much. Okay. So we have that. I'm going to dry that. And then what we're going to do is going to stencil the key, but I'm going to use the black modeling paste, and we're also going to stencil DOUG14 on the side. I'm wondering if it even needs a key. I don't know. Probably not, but I want to show you the technique. Okay. It doesn't need a key. I want to show you the technique. Alright, so I used this key on the back, so I'm going to use a different key. I want the key to fit. This is the perfect size key though. We'll just use this one. We'll just use that one. So I'm going to get the modeling paste. So if you want to use the white tinted, you take the white on the palette and add whatever you want to it. That's too big. I'll use this one. This is a number, and then there's a clock here. So what I'm doing is I want to avoid the face, the minute and the minute hands right here. I want to avoid that because I want to put something over that. At the same time, I bet my stencil. At the same time, I don't want anything to be too close to the edge. There we go. This is good. Okay. And we'll just scrape that one in there. There we are. And we'll just put that back in. And lift that up. So that's good on that one. And I'm going to go run this underwater, let that set for a bit, and then we'll stencil the letters. I adjusted the exposure on the camera a little bit. The minute you do something very dark, then I have to readjust because everything was based on a very light cover. Yeah, beautiful shimmer. Now I'm sitting down for this one, so DOUG space 14. And I'm going to do it with the modeling paste as well. And, well, I am probably going to get these off center. I'm not going to worry too much about it. And if your hands are not steady, wait for the key to dry. D-O. And I'm saying the words out loud because I have been known to spell silly stuff wrong. Actually, let me. Whoops. I'll write this down a little bit. Gets to the point where you're so far into a project, you're in the home stretch, and sometimes I find if I try to cut corners because I'm tired, I end up making a mess. Like right now, I should get a new piece of palette paper. And I should be cleaning this with a kitchen wipe, not a baby wipe. My kitchen wipes are in my little IKEA trolley, which is on the other side of the room. I'm too lazy. I'm just so tired. Okay. It's like sometimes I sabotage my pieces by being lazy. Ah, shoot. Nope, you're not staying there. Let's try that again, Bucky. There we go. While that's drying, I can turn around and get another baby wipe and just pick some spots where I just want to lighten it up a little bit more. Like I said, until everything is set, you can do a little bit of work on it. Now I should let this dry before I do this, but here I go. See, being lazy, not being lazy, being impatient. Now I gotta find Vinci. Oh, it's covered here. I just what else have we got here? I'm looking at some words that are important. Now if I had to plan this again, I would position the text so I could actually have Da Vinci highlighted just a little bit more. There we go. How cool is that? So now the only thing left is once this is fully dried, you gotta let everything fully dry. I'm going to take a little bit of the interference paint and I might apply that a little bit of places. The antiquing cream around part of the edges, and this is the one that's really cool. I want to take a small brush. That part's dry. So a small brush, I'm just going to show you what I plan on doing. And just going over anything that's raised. You don't have to do it all. 5, 6, there's another clock here. And you can really use, this is dry, you can really use anything you want. Preferably high contrast. So there's the gold and silver metallics in the media line, but in the standard deco art line, there's the metallic lusters and the dazzling metallics. So there's a lot of choices. And I was contemplating using the copper, which is, oh, it's so beautiful. But I didn't want my cover to be so red because I thought I was going to make this more green. And I ended up changing my mind. So I'm going to do this here. And then when this dries, and I'll show you about dry brushing a little bit of that. I was going to use a texture Fiero in the gold, which would have given it a granite look. But as usual, I changed my mind. And that's the beauty of being an artist. And by the way, for those of you out there that say, oh, I'm not an artist. If you create something, you're an artist. An artist where you can do it as a hobby or you can do it for a living. There's different classes of artists. Anyways, so that's one of the beauties of being an artist, is that you can create as you see fit. And I'm letting the piece speak to me. Like if I choose that, you know, once this is dry, I may say, oh, maybe I want to leave it black, or maybe I want to do this or do that. I let the piece speak to me. I let it guide me for what to do. I know it kind of sounds weird, but it's the same thing as where you say, Oh, this would look really cool if I did this. And I'm going to put too much gold here, so I want to put some on the key. And I'm just doing it in layers. The black metallic I think would look nice on this too. I really want to hit those the clock hands. That looks really old. There we go. Alrighty. Take that. Oh, and I better go and clean this. So now I'm going to let this dry. This will take, from judging on this one here, it's going to take about an hour for that to dry. And then this one I can turn around and same thing is just, whoopsie. Just hit that with a little bit of gold. And now I'm regretting actually tinting the modeling paste, because I'm going to prefer the actual dry brush instead of the gold. That's okay. I want to show you both. Well, it might be nice if we'd actually just dry brush in black. That might actually look nice. And I can come here and just do a little bit. I'm not worried. This is the back cover. I'm not too worried about this. Just want to show you the different colors. And I like using a bristle brush for this because I can scrub, because the brushes are stiff, and I can do a lot more scrubbing. Whereas if I use the Majestic brush, it would, because it's a soft brush, it would get right inside. So any of your brushes that you find, well, that's a bit much, that are getting worn out, your bristle brushes, don't get rid of them. Hang on to them, because there's always a use for them. Okay. Yeah, that I'm not liking the way this one's looking. I should have did this in black as well. But now if I wanted to really fix this up, I could always put the stencil back over, and it's sitting in the tub. Put the stencil back over and I could mist it black. That might work. I don't know. We'll see. I'll see what happens when everything is dry. Okay, so there's where we're at so far. Everything is dry. I gave it a good day to dry, so now I'm going to show you how we can make this with a little bit more gold. At the same time, I'm going to show you some interference colors and some antiquing. I'm going to bring my chair up here and grab some paper towel. Now we already saw how I did some of the gold here. I'm going to use a fan brush this time and load the brush with paint, wipe it off, and then I can just do this on the raised area. And when doing this, if I get some on the side, I can just wipe it up. It'll stay in the modeling paste because the modeling paste is very porous. And you can do this as much as you want. Okay. And that's fine. So that takes care of that. And then the other thing, you know what? I'm going to take a little bit of that off. We lose the contrast of the key. There we go. Okay. Next, the interference. I'm going to grab a large brush, and the interference is like a hologram. Now this is the green one, and I'm just going to put it right here. Okay, this is the back cover, so doesn't really matter. We'll let that dry for a sec. And while that's drying, then we'll do this one. And I take a bristle brush. Now the antiquing cream, which is black, you do this more on a non-porous surface, so something that you can wipe back. This is not too bad. You could apply a layer of varnish to this if you want. But you rub it on and then buff it off. And it ages it. And you could put on as much as you want or as little as you want. I like a lot on the edges. You can color mix this as well. There's a red, a green, a gray, white, and a black. Okay. Oops. There. Areas that are crackled, this is really nice. And depending on the thickness of whatever it is that you're working on, I like using just the brush to do the buffing. Let's say this area right here. And I like using the bristle brush for this because you can be a little bit rougher. So I can get right inside the holes and just take the brush or the paper towel and just buff it. You can, now for fine stuff, I would probably use cheesecloth. I think he's at a crackling medium. It's quite nice. And you don't have to do this, but it does offer a nice look. See? Okay, so take care of that. Now the interference, let me just quickly dry this for a second. It is dry, I just want to make sure there's nothing tacky. And then it's just, you have that shine. So the big difference in the shine, but the shine is a green tint. Okay, so that's that. So now, the only thing I have left to do is to bind this, and my Doug 2014 journal is finished. And I'm going to be doing a video, quick little video on how I am going to be binding this. As well, two of the pages where I ended up working on an individual page, two individual pages, and putting them back to back. The video on the actual piece itself, the video didn't work, so I just replaced it with that. And this, all I'll do is I'll just punch holes to do the binding. So there we go. So that's all finished. So I hope that you enjoyed this workshop and picked up a few tips on how to apply the DecoArt fluid acrylic media line to some of your own projects. So until I see you next time, stay inspired.